Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority.
7:07 on the Morning Majority. Brian Wilson, Brian Neiman, Mary Catherine Ham here, all in Washington. But now we're talking to Major Garrett, who's down in Florida getting ready for the big NBC National Journal debate tonight. Good morning, Major.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Hey, and you are White House correspondent for National Journal these days, not congressional.
As of Friday.
All right, congratulations.
Congratulations, Major.
Thank you.
All right, so coming off the South Carolina bruising for Mitt Romney, there's about a lifetime and a half between now and the actual primary in political years, at least as this primary is going. What are they trying to do tonight in this debate?
Romney?
Yeah.
Well, Romney is going to have the opportunity. I've been involved in the debate preparation for the last 2 days here. I will not be on the questioning. I will not be one of the co-moderators. My colleague Beth Reinhardt will be. She used to work here in Florida for the Miami Herald, and Brian Williams and Adam Smith of the Tampa Bay Times. You know, Romney's going to have a chance right off the bat to address the electability questions raised by his grotesque underperformance in South Carolina. Now, I know his campaign wouldn't say that. They'd say, well, we finished fourth last time. It was second this time. No. He had a big lead. He lost it in a week. He vastly underperformed in South Carolina. And the Romney campaign has made it clear to me and other reporters that in Florida, they know the stakes are enormously high, and they're going to take, their electability and Newt Gingrich's unelectability right to the forefront of the minds of Florida voters. They'll say Romney is steady, he's prepared, he has executive experience, meaning he knows how to make decisions calmly and rationally. And Newt Gingrich, while a great insurgent, a great leader of an idea brigade among Republicans, has a dreadful record as an actual manager of power, or the levers of power. And they'll use many examples to try to drive that point home.
We sort of got a preview of some of the things that Mitt Romney is going to be raising, talking about how the speaker left the speakership and some of the things that happened when he was speaker. It looks to me like what the speaker is going to do is he's going to go around the state of Florida and make some lofty idea speeches.
That's right. He's already made it clear he's going to give what he describes as a pretty good-sized speech, a big speech on the future of American space exploration. Well, in Florida, that's a very important local issue, and it's also an issue that Gingrich believes he can use to reinforce this idea of American exceptionalism. As we were going through debate prep last night, Brian Williams, as some of you may know, is an enormous supporter intellectually and philosophically of the United States space program, and he said, look, you know, there's an irony that right now the nation that we spent 10 years to try to beat to the moon, then the USSR, now Russia, is the country from which we have to hitch a ride to get to the space station. That's where the space program is, and Gingrich is going to try to address that. Now, look, Gingrich has raised $1 million in 24 hours. I've talked to top Republicans on Saturday who said he'll probably raise $10 million in the next 2 weeks. He will have some money to compete here in Florida. But the Romney campaign spent the last 3 weeks buying up ad space time both in its campaign and via the Super PAC, the organization that supports Romney, and they can spend about $1.5 million every week, to saturate these media markets, the 5 big ones here in Florida. They intend to do that, and I can tell you the negative ads against Gingrich started running at 9:30 Saturday night.
It certainly feels like a two-man race at this point between Mitt and Newt, but there is Rick Santorum that's still out there, and he did win Iowa. What does he have to do in Florida, and how much longer do they expect him to stay in the race? Well,
look, what's going to be very interesting, and we're not going to know the answer to this until much later, but if Santorum gets money right now, you have to ask yourself, who's it going to come from? Is it going to come from strategic thinking Romney supporters who want to keep him in the race?
Interesting, yeah.
Because if you keep Santorum in the race, certainly here in Florida and through the remainder of the February contests in Maine, Arizona, Colorado, Minnesota, Michigan, you constantly are carving up some of the vote that might otherwise go to Newt Gingrich. And Ron Paul, he's not going to play here very much in Florida. Ron Paul's made it clear he's going to participate in the 2 debates, Monday and Thursday. He's only going to do robocalls and mailers. He's not going to do anything else here in Florida because it's a winner-take-all state and it's a closed primary. Independents can't vote. So both of those will be lesser factors here in Florida. So here in Florida, it is definitely a two-person race.
Do you get any sense? I mean, obviously, Newt Gingrich, he didn't like Romney very much, and Rick Perry didn't like Romney very much. Do you get a sense on the relationship between Santorum and Romney?
Well, Santorum has generally been less aggressive about Romney than Gingrich, but he's been aggressive enough to make his points, and he knows that to gain any attention tonight, he's going to have to be aggressive against both. It'll be interesting to see how much firepower he turns on Gingrich and how much he turns on Romney. And if it's more Gingrich than Romney, you'll have a sense of where Santorum's overall long-term loyalties lie.
Well, the rap on Romney, at least you hear in some quarters, is that he's not very good on the attack. That he doesn't have that sort of sense of the jugular that we know that Newt Gingrich does possess.
No, and I think you look at his career in politics in Massachusetts and on the national stage, both in 2008 and this campaign, it's not something that comes to him naturally. It simply doesn't. And one of the things this campaign's going to have to internalize is the sense that this is an enormously important race. If Mitt Romney doesn't win Florida with a vast organization, a vast financial advantage, it is going to be very difficult for him to make the case that he really can win the nomination, because after Florida, if he loses it, conservatives will continue to coalesce around Gingrich. And what Romney has to do is answer this question. How can someone who cannot excite or at least motivate or in some way, shape, or form inspire conservatives win the nomination of a party dominated by conservatives?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask about, it seems to me that they're right about Mitt Romney not going for the jugular, but he often gets a lot of flack for being negative. I mean, if you look at some of the numbers of him versus Gingrich, although Gingrich is much more combative in style, they look about the same in exit polling as to who was more negative.
Right.
In
Iowa, the exit poll said Romney by far ran the most negative campaign, less so in New Hampshire, partially so in South Carolina. That's sort of the not the hired gang, because by federal law they can't really be coordinated, but the super PAC allows Romney, the other side of the Romney campaign, to do the heavy negative lifting. And he's going to have to do two things personally. Explain why Gingrich is unelectable, which is really the heart of the matter. Because if you look at the numbers with women voters, if you look at the numbers of negatives, what are your unfavorable ratings, Gingrich runs way behind Romney in both categories, and both are crucial in a general election. He has to explain why Newt Gingrich is unelectable and why he is inspirational. And if you can't do that, things are going to get very tough for him here and very quickly.
Quick logistical question. I know that during the regular election that there's certain parts of the state that the candidates always focus on that corridor. I forget the name of the
I-4 corridor.
Yeah, the I-4 corridor. Where are they focusing logistically when you're just going for the Republican votes?
Well, I mean, remember, Florida, north is south and south is north, meaning the north part of the state, Tallahassee, the Redneck Riviera, so-called, that's where most of the conservatives are. The middle part of the state, that's that I-4 corridor, tends to be more suburban. And then in the southern part of the state, it's more northern sensibilities. A lot of snowbirds who come down from New Jersey, New York, and elsewhere. But there's a Cuban, a Latino population of the vote that is and has historically been Republican. We'll be asking questions tonight about Cuba policy, environmental policy. So what you have to do is, if you're Romney, is you have to do well in the center part of the state, I-4 corridor, hold your own up north, and also do well down south.
All right, Major. Always good to have you on. Thanks very much. We'll be watching tonight. Appreciate it.
And we'll talk again tomorrow.
All right, sounds good. Major Garrett, National Journal. Big debates with NBC News tonight.